Hi, Room 12 botanists. We've talked a lot about different parts of the plants this year, and today we're going to talk about one more part of a plant. We're going to start out by reviewing how we planted a bean seed in a cup. And here's my little felt bean seed. The seed sprouted roots. It sprouted little green leaves, which I don't see. Oh, here they are. It sprouted little green leaves. It got bigger roots. The plant grew. And you had a bean plant. Of course, it was planted in a cup, so it couldn't get any bigger than this, but if it had been planted in the ground, it would have sprouted flowers. Here's a flower, here's a flower. And those flowers would have gotten little green pods in the middle, like that and like that. Finally, the flowers would have fallen off, but those little pods would stay on the plant, and they would grow until you would have some green beans. That's what would have happened if we had planted them in the ground. And finally, you would have picked them, and you would have had green beans. And you see, these beans are actually the seeds of the plant. They're a lot like the seed that you planted. The flower is what made those seeds. Now I'm going to show you some more flowers. Here is the pumpkin patch, we're pretending it is anyway, in the kindergarten garden. Every year until this year, kindergartners came to school and there was a pumpkin patch all waiting for them with leaves and flowers. And the pumpkin patch didn't have any pumpkins yet. It wasn't time for the pumpkins to come out. The way that pumpkins could grow on those flowers is bees would come to sunflowers and get some powdery yellow stuff called pollen and take it to other flowers. Now you see, this flower has this is a little tiny green baby pumpkin. If it didn't get the pollen, it would just shrivel up and die along with the flower. But if this little green baby pumpkin down here got pollen from the flower, it would grow into, things are kind of stuck together here. It would grow into a bigger green pumpkin, then an orange pumpkin, and finally, around Halloween time, it would grow into a pumpkin that we could make into a jack-o'-lantern. The reason that this pumpkin could grow is because lots of bees took pollen from this flower to this flower. The flowers had to have pollen to make the pumpkins. And inside of this pumpkin, if you cut it open, made a jack-o'-lantern, would be seeds. It started with seeds. The plant started with seeds. And after all of this, when you cut open the pumpkin, you get more seeds to plant more pumpkins. Some of them you could eat, but farmers grow pumpkins just for the seeds, and they put them in packets that you can sell. I'm going to show you the next flower. Here are the roots of a flower. The stem and the leaves that we've talked about. The roots bring the water up into the stem. The water goes to the leaves along with air and sunshine and makes food for the plant. Here is a sunflower. We had great big sunflowers in the kindergarten garden too. And I'll show you how big they were. They were 7 feet tall, and I thought, oh, I'll show them this fence here, this will be 7 feet tall, but no, it was only 6 feet tall. This 1 foot ruler makes it 7 feet. That is how tall the sunflowers were in our garden. And this is just a pretend sunflower, an artificial plant, but I'm going to show you some things about the sunflower on it. The heads on our sunflowers, the flower was huge. It was much bigger than this, but this is what I have to show you. So here are the parts. I'm going to show you the parts of a flower. The part of the plant that we haven't talked about before a lot is the flower, and that's what we're talking about today. Here's the stem, the leaves. Here's the flower with, these are called petals. There are buds on this, baby flowers that haven't opened up yet. Here's one here. These are the buds. And there's one more important part of this flower, and that's the center part has these little tiny things that stick up that are called stamens. Stamens make pollen, and all these yellow dots you see here they're just pretend, of course, but they're supposed to be stamens. Stamens have pollen on them, and bees come along, and there's nectar in here too. I forgot to tell you about the nectar. Nectar is sweet juice that comes from some of the sugar that is made in the leaves mixed with water, and it's in here so the bees will want to come. They come and they drink the nectar, they eat the pollen, and they store some in their legs, some of the pollen, to take back to their friends in the beehive. And then they go on to the next flower. You have to pretend there's another flower over here. Well, we can say it's this one. Because they have pollen all over their bodies, and it needs to get on to the next flower. They go from flower to flower, spreading the pollen around, and that's how more flowers can grow, because they need pollen in order to grow. Now if this were real, it would grow, and finally it would be time for it to die, because that's what they're supposed to do. And then the head of the flower, this part of the flower, the petals would drop off and the center part would dry out. And I have the head of one of our big sunflowers. You can probably tell this is all bent in now. It was really huge. And here's the stem on the back. This used to stick up. And these were some of the petals, the yellow parts. And look at these seeds. This is where the seeds come from on a sunflower. This is all seeds. You can take them off. This is a seed. And this sunflower, if I had left it in the garden, birds would be eating it. Squirrels came sometimes and ate seeds that fell on the ground, or they could climb up the stalk too and eat them up on the top. But I saved this one because I wanted to be able to show it to people. And this is the reason for a flower. It dries out, and seeds are left, and animals spread them around. Farmers take them and put them in packets to sell so that people can plant more, or else they just fall on the ground and grow more sunflowers the next year. Isn't that amazing? This has so many seeds in it. Now I take walks along a place called the Rail Trail next to the railroad tracks, and there are a lot of bushes with yellow flowers. And the yellow flowers are called California sunflowers. They mainly grow here in California. It's a wild flower, and if you can see the yellow on the in the middle of the flower, see that pollen? See how it's right there. And when I went to pick these so I could show them to you, I had to wait because there were bees. There were a lot of flowers on a bush. I had to wait until some of the bees flew away because there were bees going from flower to flower and spreading the pollen all over. This also, you can see buds. This has not turned into a regular flower yet. And there's something else really interesting here. This is a dried up flower, and it has seeds on it. You can, I don't know if you can see them or not, but I sort of put my fingers all over them, and there are some seeds. It's producing seeds. These will die, and it's producing seeds so that more California sunflowers can grow. I'm sending a flower and a dried up flower with seeds to school so that everybody can look at them, maybe with a little magnifying glass. I'll put those back. Now, when I was walking on the rail trail, I saw that these flowers were growing along a fence. This is a vine, part of a vine. And I saw hummingbirds sticking their beak into these, because hummingbirds like flowers like this. They have nectar, the sweet juice way inside, and I think you can see also, if you look in here, the stamens are those yellow little things sticking, big things sticking up. On this flower, they're big. And so hummingbirds get the nectar, it gets on their heads and feathers, then they go on to another flower, and they get more nectar, and they're spreading pollen from one flower to the next. And there's one other, I want to show you just one other kind of red flower here. These are pretend flowers, these are artificial, but on these, the stamen sticks way up. I just wanted you to see this because sometimes stamens are pretty flat and you can't see what they look like, but on here, the stamen is, whoops, breaking my flower. The stamens are these yellow things that stick up. They make the pollen, and along comes a bee to get the pollen and spreads it from one flower to another. Bees and hummingbirds and also butterflies are called pollinators. They take pollen from one plant, from one flower to another to help the flowers grow, and the flowers produce seeds. I have one other flower to show you. This is broccoli. And last year, in those containers outside of room 12 on the patio, we planted broccoli. Broccoli, all of these little tiny bumps on here, each one of those is a flower. So some of the broccoli we picked and we ate, we dipped it in some ranch dressing. But other broccoli plants we left to keep on growing past the time when we would want to eat it, and each of these little bumps turned into a yellow flower. The whole head of broccoli, just like this, only it was on the plant, all turned yellow with beautiful little flowers. And of course, the bees came and spread the pollen, not only on this one, but on another broccoli plant we had too. And so when those flowers finally died, there were seeds, all these broccoli seeds that we could plant to make more broccoli plants the next year. So the reason for a flower is to make seeds so that more flowers and plants can grow. I'm sending home, or to school, I don't know where you will eat this, I'm sending home a bag of parts of a plant to eat. The root, you know what that is. The stem, the leaf, a piece of a leaf, a flower, and seeds. You're going to get all of those things, and you need to figure out which is which. This is our last video, our last science lesson, Room 12 botanists, and I'm going to miss, I know so many of you already, and I'm sure going to miss you. Maybe I'll see you in the garden next year. Happy holidays. Bye.